excited to be with you, along with my co-host, Emily Campagno, outnumbered right now. Joining us today, Kennedy, Jackie DeAngelis, and Charles Payne, bringing it from Fox Business Superstars. Good to see you guys. Let's begin with a long list of fraud charges against FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried. You know, he was arrested in the Bahamas just hours before he was set to testify on Capitol Hill in a House hearing on the crypto collapse. Lawmakers on both sides of the political aisle are going after the timing of all of this. They wanted Bankman-Fried to answer for the billions of dollars his company squandered while his investors lost their shirts and everything else. Now, they won't get the chance to question him, at least not at this point, because he's in custody in Bahamas. Instead, he faces extradition on a series of criminal charges, including wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy to violate campaign finance laws, a whole host of them. Charles, what are the ripple effects in the financial world today of this?
Well, you know, the market is not paying attention to this as much as it had earlier in the week, but there are massive ripple effects, and it goes way beyond crypto. In fact, I hate that it's even considered a crypto story. And that's one of the things that's frustrating me watching these lawmakers right now and the questions that they're asking. It's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of, dissing crypto. Here's the thing. This is more than even a Sam Bankman-Fried story. This is a story about a system that is so corrupt between Silicon Valley and Wall Street that they have been ripping off the American public for billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars every single year. This is our chance to wake up and see what's going on. FTX is just part of that. FTX is just a tiny part of that. So yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried, I pray that he pays for everything that he could and should, to all these victims. Over 1.2 million people use that service, that platform as an exchange. It's not, my biggest fear though in watching some of that hearing is that it's going to be misreported. It's going to be a crypto story. It's going to be a Sam Bankman-Fried story. It's going to be a story why this party didn't do that, instead of an indictment on a system that has run amok.
And when you say party, you don't even mean political party, because Jackie, he was the second largest donor for Democrats, next to uber-rich George Soros. So there are people, and Leo Terrell, Matthew Whitaker, formerly of the Trump administration, was on with me, the former AG. They were talking about there are people who are really shaking right now, Democrats who took money, and it's dirty money.
I agree with that. And I think that's part of the reason people think that the charges were filed in this way right before this hearing. I'm not necessarily sure that's the case. I actually think he's been running his mouth off, sitting down with the New York Times, doing all of these interviews, and it is completely inappropriate. It makes the SEC and the CFTC look silly in this situation. And that is why he did it. And so they didn't want to give him another opportunity to be able to do that. We're talking about very serious criminal charges here. And as Charles points out, I also never really thought that this story had to do with crypto per se. A small piece of it does, but the rest is garden variety fraud that the Justice Department really needs to investigate here. And you also have to think about the more he runs off his mouth, the more opportunity he has when he is extradited to say, well, I'm not going to get a fair trial. Everybody's biased against me, or this, that, and the other thing happened. So I think they wanted to try to cut it off, make sure that they had the case sewn up. That
is so shady. So he talks to the public and actually dirties the pool that they would have to pull a jury trial from, potential jurors from, and then they get to call it, unfair.
Right. He can certainly argue that. I don't think it's going to work. Here's what I think viewers should know about those charges. Two things. Number one, leverage for the penalties, leverage as a plea deal, and then how it impacts the juries. There are two elements about white-collar crimes that the public hates. When someone else doesn't pay their taxes because they have to pay their taxes, and when someone takes money from them. And on the other side, the penalties for these charges are so stiff. Just one conspiracy to commit wire fraud, that can be upwards of 25 years. One charge of wire fraud, upwards of 25 years. So the Fed right now, the DOJ, is sitting on the possibility facing Sam of hundreds of years of penalties. And that's the kind of leverage that makes someone plea. And if he doesn't plea, then he's going to be sitting in front of a jury of his peers that he has argued probably unsuccessfully that is tainted, but they're not. And they are going to say, well, then we are sentencing you to dozens and dozens of years. Because when you go to a minimum security prison and you see in the yard who's been sentenced to 15 years and 25 years and 35 years, it's people that that gambled on a jury trial of a white-collar crime. And by the way, your point about lack of remorse, if there is one thing that the Fed needs to see when they are negotiating with you to plead or when they are setting the terms for a trial, it's remorse. And if there is none, the ball's in their court.
As you look at this, Kennedy, you know, a lot of times you can see that privilege come into play. They don't even get to the trial. But a lot of times the Feds are going after a bigger fish. He's the whale, right? Like, there's not a bigger fish.
No, he is the big fish, and the privilege that he was using, that he was engaging in, was mostly political. The reason he was donating to all these Democrats was they're in power. He wants them to write the rules that benefit him completely. But he screwed everything up, you know, through hubris and what John Ray called unsophisticated, inexperienced, like grossly inexperienced and unsophisticated. So they weren't good at what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing. And they were just a bunch of rubes running around, really impressed with themselves, buying friends like Tom Brady and Giselle and Larry David and Shaq. We haven't heard much from them.
You know, what would they say?
Well, they should say, wow, we feel really bad. We told people to buy into this exchange, and then they lost all of their money. Our fans who have looked up to us for years, we've built these brands on public trust, and we're telling people who maybe don't have a lot of money to put their money here. They lost it all. So yes, I do think you have some moral accountability there. And to Emily's point, these are very serious charges. Not only is he being charged by the Southern District of New York, you've also got the civil aspect, the SEC going after him for billions of dollars in related fraud.
Well, and the Bahamas aren't giving him up yet. The courts down there are going to take a look at him, and we haven't quite officially asked for extradition. So what is outside of the United States potentially is exposure for him?
Well, they had operations all over. I know I was just reading about their operation in Australia, and again, very flimsy. It's so funny because Ray mentioned that they were doing all of this on QuickBooks. Like QuickBooks is great if you start a business, you're doing a dog grooming business and that kind of stuff. But when you get to multi-billions of dollars in certain layers, he was shocked. But I wanted to pick up on what Kennedy was saying.
So was that stupidity or on purpose?
I just think it was arrogance. I think this whole thing began as arrogance, that if you look at the way the company is designed, I think, my personal opinion, it was designed to steal from people from day one. From day one, it was designed with backdoors to rob the American public. Here's the thing, though. In addition to those celebrities, who, by the way, they really don't know anything about the financial world, what about the financial world that built him up, that helped him raise money at a $32 billion valuation? Sequoia is number one on the list. Sequoia is the biggest venture capital firm in the world. They raised money for him twice last year. They posted an article about him in August of this year, bragging about this wonder kid who can do anything. And by the way, he doesn't read. In the article, it says, I don't like to read, and anyone who writes is dumb. Imagine if you went to the biggest venture capital firm in the world and said, hey, I got a great idea, but I don't read. You'd get kicked out of this so fast, you wouldn't even know what the hell happened. Like, what the hell is going on?
How did they cozy
That's
up
what
with
I'm
that
saying.
level of stupidity?
Something doesn't work. Someone ain't stupid. Something does not work here. This isn't a $1 billion scam. It's worked its way up to, at one point, a $50 billion scam. Something is wrong. Very powerful people knew about this. I pray we get to the very bottom of it, and everyone is shamed and pays the price.
The saddest part is that money doesn't go back to those people, just like the Madoff scandal. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how many years he rots in prison or Sequoia folds or doesn't, because the bottom line is the average American will not get their money back, and that's the saddest part.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. Wow, what a great discussion. I'm so glad that you're both here. Jackie, we'll talk about your new show later. Okay. And a puppy. You got a new show and a puppy. Okay, coming up.
I didn't get a puppy when I got my show.
We have dogs in the back. They're adorable with the bows for Christmas.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.